the Captain Crunch.
Yeah, Captain Crunch. I love that. I need a shirt. Hello and welcome to Cassette, where you can eject wherever you want, but please don't forget to rewind. I'm Ethan.
I'm Annmarie.
And Annmarie, what did we go see a while back and probably have seen more than once at this point?
Oh, we saw Fantastic Four. Finally, Fantastic Four. It's clobbery time.
Yeah, and we got our little Herbie popcorn bucket back there waving to y'all, our wonderful audience. And yeah, so by the way, we have done a spoiler-free talk. So if you accidentally clicked on this video because, you love our faces and you just want to, hear us talk about Fantastic Four, but you have not seen the Fantastic Four movie, please eject now, go to the spoiler-free review, and then go watch Fantastic Four, and immediately then come back here and spend your time watching our wonderful faces again as we go over our thoughts, spoiler-filled, on this awesome interstellar journey that is Fantastic Four.
I thought you were going to say Fantastic Journey, but...
There's already so many of those videos on the internet, I can't take it anymore.
Oh, man. Well, let's just start off. We both love this movie very much. I think this is... I've been waiting... I said this in my reel. I've been waiting so many years for a good Fantastic Four film. I've been filling that void with The Incredibles, and I finally have a good one.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean, I grew up with those very cheesy, campy ones from the early 2000s, and didn't even bother going to see Fan Four Stick just because it was kind of following that, for some reason, every colorist at the time was obsessed with just making everything look so saturated.
Yeah.
And just why? It's the Fantastic Four. It should be bright and colorful. And oh my gosh, this go around, it's almost like Superman. It's like a Superman transition. You go from gray and saturated to color. So much color. It feels fresh off a comic book page, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's so different. It's so funny because let's take it back a little bit. Edgar Wright was supposedly gonna direct this, and then maybe Peyton Reed, and then it falls into the hands of Matt Shakman.
Wasn't John Watts?
John Watts, you are correct. John Watts was before this too. So this has been shopped around a lot. Yes. And I feel like this world finally works in a sense. So the Fantastic Four doesn't take place on Marvel world. It takes place in a different universe, and it's like an alternative 1960s universe. They've been the Fantastic Four for 4 years, and they seem like everything's going great. Kind of like that fun campiness in the beginning. They defeated Mo-Man, they defeated Red Ghost, they defeated other villains, and it's like, no, Galactus is coming now, so...
Yeah, they defeated Red Ghost to the point where they kicked up the actor out of the movie.
I was so wrong about that. I swore I thought he was going to be Franklin Richards, but no.
Yeah, for all you who don't know, John Malkovich was actually supposed to be Red Ghost in the movie, part of that little highlight reel that they had in the beginning, showing their victories and, previous endeavors. Which, by the way, gives me chills every time I hear that bombastic, retro futuristic 60s theme that the brilliant Michael Giacchino put together, along with them showing off their powers. It's just so awesome to me, and it just feels like the comic book style and blend I was wanting to see on the big screen for the longest time.
Yeah, it felt very like Jack Kirby-esque, which was super nice, and just it felt like it finally, Matt Shakman broke the code for the Fantastic Four. I feel like no one was able to get it. They're like, oh, what's this? And this one, I felt like, oh, this is what Fantastic Four is. It's a space adventure. Why aren't we doing this? They're explorers. And I think this world that they set up was perfect, that they started in a retro 1960s, because they were the Neil Armstrong kind of astronauts that went up to space and came back with superpowers.
Yeah, the first steps.
Yes. And I think as well, poor Ethan, I love the Fantastic Four. I've been talking about this for years now, but for the first time I really felt I bought every dynamic in this movie. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have been an obsessed Fantastic Four fan for the longest time, but and I've actually have quite a few other friends as well that just the Fantastic Four is how they were introduced into Marvel to begin with. It's either typically Spider-Man or, something else, but the most popular ones that I've known from my encounters with other people are just Spider-Man or Fantastic Four as their introductory. So I think it was so fitting for it to be, first steps, Marvel's first family, first steps in regards to, since it's spoiler now, we can definitely talk about it. Franklin Richards being born and into this world.
I can't believe they did Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
And also, speaking of Jack Kirby a little bit, I wanted to interject that Earth 828 is where this takes place. 828, August 28th, when Kirby was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's like during the credits they kind of show like 8/28 and then they put it like on his birth date,
Yeah.
his death date. So, but yeah, no, it was just such a nice moment to have these characters finally get their due properly. And it feels like in the past, whenever these characters have had an attempt to be done, it was always we got to put them in the modern world. We got to make it fit work to what our eyes are typically used to. But I'm like, if you're going to go down that route, most of our eyes are typically used to them in like this retro futuristic Jetsons looking like 60s world.
Yeah.
So why not, envelop those characters in that? And Shackman just absolutely went with that idea. And we all knew how that was going to go based on his experience with WandaVision and doing like the sitcoms with the different eras and all that for aesthetic. And him bringing that to the Fantastic Four was so brilliant.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think what made it extra special to me is the character development for these characters. Like, I feel respect to the old casts that we did have. I don't think they're awful in any sense. I
don't know.
Secretly, I love the 2005 Tin Story Fantastic Four, but that was the only Fantastic Four I had for a while. But they never really just seemed to get the dynamic between people. And so I think in this one, I bought Reed and Sue as a couple. Reed and Johnny. I bought Sue and Johnny, Ben and Johnny. Like all these people, I finally felt like, oh, I get it. Like this is what it's supposed to feel like, because at the end of the day, John Campea said this too. You could take out all the superhero aspects and just have them sitting down dining room table. I absolutely loved it. And I didn't think that at first. I did not think this cast was a good choice, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the only character that I was, or the actor for casting here that I was a little unsure about was Pedro Pascal. Don't get me wrong. Pedro Pascal is a wonderful actor, one of the best working today. But I'm just like, Reed Richards, I don't see Pedro Pascal. But then, when The Last of Us rolled around and, you kind of think of how he played the Joel character, I'm like, oh, you know what? He might have enough dynamicism in his in his acting prowess to really bring something to this character. And then you realize that it's going for that retro futuristic 1960s, and then his iconic Pedro Pascal mustache kind of works into that, like, almost giving him that like Walt Disney look or something like that. But yeah, it really harkens back to that old initial Reed Richards look.
Yeah, and I think also, we said this in the non-spoiler review, our favorite Reed Richards is the asshole Reed Richards.
Yeah.
The one that is so smart, he doesn't think about giving sympathy. And Pedro doesn't play that kind of Reed Richards, but I feel like he could get there eventually.
Yeah, and we did mention this in our non-spoiler review. He does show elements of that unempathetic kind of character, but not to where we're like, not like the Jonathan Hickman style where it's like a straight up asshole, but like cares for his family,
Yeah.
He just it feels a lot more unintentional, accidental, but he's a lot more apologetic about it this go around. So it kind of makes you wonder what gets him to that point, if they're going in that direction where it brings him to that point
Oh.
as we get into near Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Well, I'm just saying Neymar's on the table, so Sue Storm might be no, I can't. But no, I think that's true. I think, let's just be honest, like, Sue Storm's one of my favorite characters. She is such a badass in the comics. I literally looked back at what she's done. She stopped a celestial being, like, she's hooked up with Dr. Doom and Neymar. She is so powerful. She's one of the most powerful people in Secret Wars, and so I feel like Vanessa Kirby played her so well, where she is the cornerstone of this family. Like, she's the glue here, and she has a really fabulous scene. And at first, I was like, "What are you doing, Sue Storm?" But she goes out, and she's because everyone wants her to give up Franklin Richards, and she's like, "I'm here, like, for you guys, but I'm also here for Franklin Richards, and I'll move heaven and earth for him." And I just felt like that was really powerful. So
Yeah, and speaking of, great scenes, the one that stuck out to me, not really on an emotional level, but just it just sticks on my mind so much, is that black hole sequence where they're being chased by the Silver Surfer.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, between again Michael Giacchino's like score that goes from that retro 1960s, like smoothly transitions into epic celestial in the cosmos kind of score, and blends it together with still that 1960s intensity. It's just so awesome and epic. And just to bring it here, like with the visual effects, and the stakes are high, and just how close a call it really is, with this family dynamic at play here, with Reed just casually stretch. And by the way, that's the thing I really like, is when I read the comics of Fantastic Four, which I haven't read a direct Fantastic Four comic, but more so like where the Fantastic Four is heavily involved, like Secret Wars and all that. Whenever Reed is in a scene, he's casually using his powers. He doesn't really intensely use them until he really needs to. And I think this movie does a really great job, especially in that scene, of just, reaching casually just to get to something a slightly sooner, a half second sooner than he would otherwise. And it's stuff like that, that little nods like that just kind of make this movie even more powerful with little moments like that.
Yeah, I love that scene. I think hands down that's gonna be most people's favorite scene too, just because the dynamics during it too. Like Ben's trying to fly, Johnny's trying to shoot the alien, and the blaster beam keeps going around and missing her, and the Silver Surfer is just again, all of you that were like, Julia Garner can't play the Silver Surfer. One, it's a different character, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Two, she's awesome in this movie. Like, I think she is kind of done dirty in the end, I will say that, which we'll get there, but that scene felt so epic to me. And again, like, I was like a little kid. I felt like I was 7 years old all over again reading the comic books because it was real. It was finally real. So,
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, just it harkens back to that Star Trek-esque kind of interstellar exploration
mhm.
aspect of the Fantastic Four, that a lot of people specifically love the Fantastic Four because of that element. Not just because, oh, they beat up a bad guy with their superpowers and called it a day, and made some, wisecracks here and there. No, it was like the interstellar space exploration. And you think about the era of when the Fantastic Four was big, was when everyone was into that, with the getting man on the moon and all that. So, I mean, it's just such a harken back to what made Fantastic Four great. And it is epitomized in that one scene. Many scenes throughout this movie, but I think that one really does it justice.
Can we talk about how terrifying Galactus was?
Ooh, let's talk about terrifying. Like, we're talking Studio A24 kind of, horror film
I just
stuff here.
thought he was so cool. Let's say this. I don't think the CGI is perfect in this film. I think there's some things with Franklin Richards where I'm like, that doesn't look like a real baby. I can forgive a lot of those. The two things that stood out to me is one, the Thing. Oh my gosh, I don't think there was any time I didn't question that he wasn't a real character. And two, Galactus.
There was, yeah. I'll talk about my thoughts on the thing in Franklin Richards in a little bit.
Yeah.
But regarding Galactus, oh my gosh. From the time his eyes are lit, like almost like the Watcher, just with the iconic look. Every time you look up at Galactus in the comic book, he's threatening there too, just with how much space he takes up on one page. And he is just such a presence. In fact, in like the 1980s Secret Wars where he's involved, he's just standing there most of the time looking down.
Yeah.
And then just midway through, just like, I'm going to do something now and just like destroy this planet.
You call him the Captain Crunch.
Yeah, Cat on Crunch. I love that. I need his shirt. But yeah, no, he is just such a presence here where it feels like a force of nature more than anything else. Not like a character that wants or needs anything, but just like a force of nature. And again, that harkens back to the interstellar exploration and dealing with certain obstacles in the midst of that kind of stuff. That feels very on par with what the Fantastic Four is all about. Not with how it was handled in the previous Fantastic Four.
I was gonna say you didn't like the big black cloud.
Yeah, like the big cloud thing. I mean, it's just like, oh, I'm a bad guy. I'm gonna eat you, and then it's like, oh no, we'll stop you, man. Yeah, I'm gonna stop you, like the traditional way. And it's like, stop it.
Yeah.
But no, here it was very well done. And I love how the way they introduce him is the Fantastic Four go there to negotiate with
Yeah.
him first, more than so than anything else, and explore. But they have no idea what they're up against, and it really goes to show how much the Fantastic Four are new, like to even their own universe.
Yeah, I really like that because there was a part that I wish went on longer in the second act where people are like, where they admit like Galactus wanted Franklin and we're not gonna give him up, and people started hating on them. And I kind of like that. It was different in a sense where, you have these heroes that are like, we're here, like the Avengers, like they can't do any wrong, and then Civil War happens and people start to like question them in a sense, like, well, what are you trying to do? And so I thought that was really neat and something that I wish was developed more in this story. So
Yeah, and it definitely does provide that sense of nuance that we all kind of wanted for a movie like this, where it's not just a simple run of the mill kicking a bad guy in the butt and calling it a day. So it's all going back again to why we love this movie. It's really what at heart what these characters and these stories are all about. I love how even some of the shots are like taken right out of a Jack Kirby book.
yes, the one shot when they walked up and they're looking up and then his eyes glue. I like was looking through my comics. I'm like, where is the shot?
Where is it?
I know where it is. I've seen that before. Oh yeah, I love that so much. So
Yeah, and here's the thing though about Galactus that I'm not sure how I feel about. So I love the character, right? But when we get to where he actually lands on Earth and starts stomping on, the buildings and everything, there's this kind of like technique in CGI where you try it the best you can to keep things in the dark. So that way it's easier to make it look real and blend into the world that it's in. When and they were doing that whole sequence in the light of day. And I feel like the main reason they did that was because they wanted to do that iconic look of Galactus's silhouette cast over the, most of New York. So I'm not sure if that was worth it because once Galactus goes in like during the day, it just doesn't feel as menacing of a presence
yeah,
as it was when he was on the ship. And it wasn't bad, but it just was a little bit of a step down. But I think that goes for anything, it's almost like Jaws, right? The the fact that the thought that he exists and he could attack at any moment is more menacing and scary than when you actually see the animatronic appear towards the end of the movie.
yeah. And this is where I'm gonna take my bias out of it. Like I really did enjoy this movie, but I do know I have a bias towards it. So, but the third act was disappointing in my sense. The second Silver Surfer racing scene, that was like the third act in my head. The third act for this one, it was a little disappointing in a sense because you don't get this Galactus gonna come and eat your world. Like, you don't feel that sense in it. And it wasn't like bad, but I think what I had envisioned in my head, because I was so convinced. I'm like, this world is screwed. The Thunderbolt ship at the end. It's the Fantastic Four escaping. This is gonna be awesome. It wasn't that. And again, like taking my bias aside, that's where I kind of felt, oh, like that was a little like Galactus isn't a one and done villain. He shouldn't be a one and done villain, and
Well, he still might not be.
I hope not.
I don't believe he was killed. I mean, he's a force of nature. You can't really kill Galactus.
Yes.
So once he was kicked out, like into that portal the second time, in the end by the Silver Surfer, he's just in a different place. He's just kind of like floating around like a untouched action figure, at this point.
Yeah, I hope they bring him back because he is such a cool villain, and I think we all deserve that scene of him standing over Earth, not just New York, Earth. So
Yeah, and I hope that we get something like that. But kind of talking about that third act, though, something that I really took away from it, other than what we already discussed, just the fact that it was comparatively a step down from the first two acts, which were incredible through and through. When it got to the moment where Sue dies, and I knew like kind of where it was going, like, yeah, you're gonna give Franklin you're gonna put Franklin on Sue, and then he's gonna resurrect her. I knew something was like that was gonna happen, but in that moment, I'm still feeling like, oh, this is a powerful moment here. Then Franklin starts getting antsy and starts like reaching and like crying like for his mommy, and the visual there, like the CGI was just not, especially since holding the baby is a really good CGI character in The Thing, and as he's passing it on to Pedro, like I'm like, that baby's not there. It looks like Son of the Mask level CGI baby. And it really took me out of the moment, which was unfortunate because I'm like, wow, this is such a powerful moment that could kind of almost make up for the step down that the third act was to the rest of the movie. But that one little bit, I'm usually able to give movies like this a pass on cartoonish looking CGI. But when it comes to a powerful, poignant moment like that, and it's just a few seconds, I'm just like, wow, that's actually kind of impressive that was able to ruin it for me.
Yeah, I think someone I saw compared it to Renesmee in Breaking Dawn Part 1, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Again, like, I can forgive it because that movie was just meant so much to me, but I understand when people say that. And it sucks because I really did think The Thing and Galactus were amazing CGI, and I'm like, you couldn't get a real baby on set? Like, couldn't just happen. So it's fair. I thought at that moment that they were gonna reverse time. Franklin was gonna reverse time, and then we would have like a whole other thing, but not how the movie ended. And so I understand people's frustrations with that because in a way it kinda ended like a Marvel movie, which is weird to say because I know it's a Marvel movie, but it kinda ended where it wasn't like different enough. And I thought like this movie was different from other Marvel movies.
Yeah, and
I thought it was another girl or like whatever that's.
yeah, and speaking of the ending, there were a couple post-credit scenes. The first one was actually one that we would typically see at the end, like as the final credit scene. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Annmarie, but don't we typically see the character will return in the next upcoming movie as the final?
I think so. From what I remember, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think there was any specific reason? I mean, I have my thoughts, but do you think there was any specific reason why we got the Doomsday post-credit scene as the first one, and then something that was just playful fun at the end for the final post-credit scene.
I'm trying to think back to Thunderbolts because what order did they go in for Thunderbolts? Because there was like a serious one and then you want some cereal. So I'm trying to think of that. But I don't know if there's do you have a reason?
I mean, my possible reason would just be because we know we're not in a good place, as Marvel right now. So we want to make sure for people that even might not stay for the end credits at the end, that we get this in front of them as soon as possible to prep them for the next big thing, because we want Doomsday to make the most money.
That makes sense. I think we also learned later on that that was directed by the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting too, because I had expected the end credit scene not to be Franklin meeting Doctor Doom, but I expected it to really tie to the Thunderbolts post-credit scene with the ship. And so now we're in a place where how are these connected in a sense? Like, because there was a couple of times in this film where I thought, oh, this is how Secret War is going to get set up. Like, they're transporting this Earth to our Earth and they're going to combine. But that didn't happen. And then I was like, oh, well, the world's going to get destroyed and Franklin's going to be on the ship. That didn't happen. So it makes me interested because Doomsday and Secret Wars are really long comic books. So how are you going to do this in just 2 films?
My initial thought was like, okay, the Secret Wars is going to be the 20th Century Fox universe, and the 616 MCU, being like the ultimate, and the 616 in the comics, where they're smashing into each other, and that's what happens there. But if you notice, if you read Secret Wars, there's that little preface on the first few panels that kind of explains there were multiple Earths other than those, but they fell victim to the devastation whenever incursion was occurring, and now the only ones left were those two. Do you think that the Fantastic Four, their world 828, is going to fall in, victim to that incursion, so that way the 20th Century Fox and the 616 MCU Earths kind of are the only 2 ones left, and they're the ones that are having at it with each other?
I hope so, and I hope we see that. I want to see that visually. Don't just tell me that. Show me it. And so I do trust the Russo brothers, and I think they would do that pretty well, but I think it's a good theory. So
Yeah.
I'm interested with Doctor Doom, because first off, do you think it's Robert Downey Jr. under the mask?
Financially, I would say that's probably not him. I would say that's probably like an extra that is a stand-in for Robert Downey Jr., so they don't have to pay him more on top of what he's already doing, unless that's already in his contract.
Yeah.
For that post-credit scene. I don't know the ins and outs of that. But if you're asking me if that is indeed the character, like Victor Von Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr., I would say, who else could it be? Like, I mean, unless it's a Doombot that looks like him. I mean, I don't know. But they do kind of set up Doctor Doom outside of that and his place in the world early on during this Fantastic Four movie, where, Sue is talking about the Future Foundation, and then you kind of see the camera panning across all these different countries. There's one vacant seat, though, and that's Latveria. And so it's like, we all know where Victor Von Doom comes from, so you kind of guess, like, okay, he's probably going on with something right now, but he typically would be there. So what happened? What's going on there that would cause him suddenly 4 years later to come back? Heck, is he still in the public eye during those 4 years in between the end of Fantastic Four and what's it called? The post-credit scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, the post-credit scene has a title of its own. It's its own movie. No, but yeah, it's like, what did he do? Maybe, here's my theory.
Okay.
So you know how the idea has been same mask, different task or whatever?
Yeah, same mask
Or
different mask, same task.
yes, different mask, same task.
Yes.
So after the Galactus situation, what if that inspires our Doctor Doom to be like, well, if Reed isn't going to properly protect, the world, what if I build my suit of armor around this world? And he starts exploring and working with magic to kind of explore the possibilities outside of it. And that leads him to Franklin Richards.
That makes so much sense, though.
Right?
Because, yeah, I didn't even think about different masks, same task. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Iron Man tried to do. Wait!
Yeah.
My theory was not as cool as yours.
Well, what's your theory?
Well, my theory, they won't do this. 100% they won't do this. But because it's so in-depth in the comic books, because Sue Storm, I don't know if you thought she looked pregnant in that scene. I thought she looked a little pregnant at the end credit scene. I'm wondering if it's something with Valerie Richards, but they won't do that. I think that's way more down the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. At the same time, it would be kind of interesting at that point where, like, they would give her more of an association to Victor Von Doom, like, oh, you're from my past, I don't want to, what are you doing here? But also is a little more welcoming to seeing his face.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my idea for how Valerie, right?
That's how I say it.
Yes, is going to be involved is, and this is really dark. This is a really dark turn as to how that could happen. And I don't think they'll go this far.
Okay.
But once Doctor Doom does his whole thing, like at the beginning of Secret War, where he creates like Battle World and all that, has already had an established life with Sue at that point, and a lot of time has transpired afterwards, and Valerie is a result of that.
It could be. It could be. I just don't know.
And that would piss off Reed because she is evidence of that unintentional betrayal.
Are you thinking he becomes the Maker?
No, the Maker, I think, might be like the Fantastic Four from the Fox universe.
Okay.
Because if we're using that as the equivalent of the Ultimate, that's Reed Richards from, that world. And I feel like that's one you could probably use as like your Maker of sorts.
Yeah.
So
it's not a bad theory, though. I think Franklin's going to be extremely important in here. Kevin Feige does have a plan. He recently came out and said we have somewhat of a plan of where we're going. And I think Franklin is super, super important.
Going back to Valerie, though, we talk about asshole Reed.
Yeah.
That could be the thing that makes him asshole Reed.
I would love him to be asshole Reed. I want him to lose his mind.
Because that would do it. It's like they're so loyal to each other. So like having this where it was an indirect, like it was completely unintentional because Sue was only going with what she processed as the real world. And Reed might not have existed in that real world that Doom had created.
Do you think they would do that so soon, though? Because, they just set up, this is a power couple in the Marvel Universe. They love each other.
Right, but that's where things can go wrong.
I would love it. I would absolutely love to see it.
I mean, heck, you look at Black Panther that came out right before Infinity War, right? And how they established these new characters into this universe and really show, get you to really get behind them, love them, and see their dynamics within each other. T'Challa with his love interest. And what do they do at the end of Infinity War? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. I don't know, but I'm just so happy the Fantastic Four are becoming, the main center point of the Marvel Universe. Kevin Feige's Mr. Fantastic's gonna be your main guy, and I think that's how it should be, so.
Yeah, and with all that stress on his shoulders, and
breaking down. Are we bad for liking asshole Reed?
I don't think so. I think those types of characters are, interesting.
So fun.
I mean, I'm always the bigger fan of Superman be kind to everyone, but it's not like every character needs to be that way.
Let's quickly say this, by the way, because I think a lot of people will be asking this because Superman just came out, first off. Again, I said this in a reel. Superman won't ruin Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four won't ruin Superman. These both are good films. I'm going to say this right now. I think Superman was and still is the better film, but I enjoyed Fantastic Four more. Now, let's take a second because, again, bias, 100%. I will fully admit that. Like, Fantastic Four, I grew up reading. I grew up reading Superman too, but Fantastic Four, I just have more of an attachment to. I don't think they needed to compete with each other. I think both of these films are going to do really well because Superman broke a record for box office, and then Fantastic Four broke a record for box office. Two separate ones.
It's a mutualistic relationship they have going on because, as we hear from the John Campea podcast, high tide raises all ships. So, it is definitely a high tide here between the two. Superman raised the box office of Fantastic Four, so on and so forth. And, people are like, oh, superhero movies are back, so therefore they're going to see one, and maybe it leads them to go back and see the other again. I think that's wonderful, and I'm sure that Gunn, Safran, and Feige are all, toasting to each other right now. And
yeah, I hope so. And I'm sure down the line, when we get farther in the Marvel universe and when we get farther in DC, people are going to butt heads. But I hope people remember this point where it's like, no, and I would say this for Superman, take the superhero aspect out. I think they're both still amazing movies.
absolutely. And on top of that, it's really interesting that you say that Superman is the better, movie.
Yeah.
Because this was probably like immediate, reaction. But yeah, your reaction coming out of the theater when we first saw Fantastic Four was like, oh, undoubtedly Fantastic Four is better than Superman.
I think I liked it more than Superman.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just think that was like, it's so funny to see how reactions differ from thorough review, like when people have time to marinate on movies. So it's just so awesome, like how perspective on films and art in general can just change over time, whether it be for better or worse. But just, I don't know, that's a really good example of that.
I want to be totally fair. Like, I think that's totally fair to say. I think Superman is a better movie, but in my mind, Fantastic Four didn't need to be better than Superman. It really didn't need. It needed to be better than 2005 and 2015. Fantastic Four.
Not a high standard.
Like, what is? I know. I rewatched those films before I watched Fantastic Four First Steps, and I'm like, it just can't be as bad as these. And they were. And I finally feel like, oh my God, Marvel, you found your footing. Let's go.
They announced, obviously, once they finished Secret Wars, it's essentially going to reboot the entire universe as we kind of predicted. Do you think that more Marvel movies in the future are going to be sticking with this like retro iconography throughout their other movies, or do you think this was just a Fantastic Four thing, like how it kind of was just a Captain America First Avenger thing, or just something there to not lose that vision of another Matt Shackman retro futuristic setting? Like, is that just a one done thing, or are we gonna see more of that in the future?
I think it really depends on what the movie's gonna be, because I can see it for certain movies like Blade. If they did like a 1920s kind of thing.
If that ever comes out.
And if it ever comes out, true. I don't know for sure, to be honest, because I would like that. Like, I think the best Marvel movies are the ones that didn't feel like a superhero movie first. Like, it was like Captain America 2 felt like a spy movie before it felt like a superhero movie. Fantastic Four felt like an adventure movie before a superhero movie. I think it really depends, and I think we've seen a lackluster in Marvel films is when they put superhero first and then superhero spy movie or superhero adventure, or superhero like anything. I think that's when we lean on it a little bit better, and so I don't know.
I think it'll just depend on like a case to case basis, like you were saying. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go forward with that reboot afterwards. But we're not even there yet. We're still working our way post Fantastic Four. Next up on the list is what? Is it Spider-Man or is it Doomsday?
That's the thing. We don't know if Spider-Man's being moved or not because originally it was between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So we're not sure. But right now, at this point in time, it is Spider-Man.
Okay, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Do you see a world in which we see Spider-Man join the Fantastic Four like other or other Marvel characters jump in the Fantastic Four, kind of like we've seen in the past in the comics.
You just gotta kill Johnny Storm and that. No, please don't do that.
Poor Johnny.
Poor Johnny.
Tell him Uncle Fred.
He's the one that gets replaced all the time. So
Yeah, it's just like a lighter.
yeah.
Flame off. But yeah, no, it's just gonna be so interesting with how they handle it and how epic and how vast and how complex Doomsday and Secret Wars are gonna be.
Yeah.
It's nothing like we've seen before in film or anything in general other than, within the comic medium. So this is gonna be so interesting with how they handle it, what they take from the comics, what they don't, what we know from the context we have post Fantastic Four. I mean, things are gonna get bonkers.
Yeah. I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Especially with Secret Wars. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually picked up Secret Wars again, like the 2015 version, and I opened it up just to kind of like, refresh my memory on certain things. And I forgot how like bonkers crazy the beginning is. It really throws you right into things.
I'm so excited.
It's like, oh yeah, we got another Earth colliding in. Yeah. Oh shit, we got another Earth coming in.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, but now, Annmarie, before we wrap things up here, I gotta ask, has your rating for the movie changed? Are you still at a 9.5 from when we last discussed, or has it bumped up to a 10? Has it dropped down to just a 9?
No,
Where are you at?
it's staying the same. And again, I think it's just my bias kicking in too. I absolutely love this movie. I think this movie is fantastic. But I think I also think towards the future of what this means. Like, I cannot wait till we get a Fantastic Four 2. Like, cannot wait for this stuff. And so I think, again, is it a perfect movie? No, it's not. But I think it does so good. And you take all the superhero stuff out, I still love it. I love the dynamics. And that's the thing I just keep coming back to. I'm like, the dynamics here are crazy awesome. And so I know it bumped up for you, though.
Yes, it did. So after I saw it a second time, which by the way, I want to say this, there was a family that rode their bikes to the theater,
Yeah.
and they just happened to be sitting next to me, and their little kid was just so hyped for this movie, but they had no idea what theater etiquette was. So he's just saying, like, as the herald, the Silver Surfer was giving a little herald speech, and he's just kind of like leaning over the glass in front of the row, just saying like, "Oh, Galactus,
Same kid.
Galactus," like
Same kid. I get it.
yeah, like I feel you, but
Yeah.
calm down. You'll learn theater etiquette in no time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was really nice to see like little kids get that into superhero movie, really refreshing, and we saw lots of that with Superman too. So a really great summer for film. But yeah, going back to my score, yeah, it bumped up from what I said, like an 8.5.
8.5, yeah.
Yeah, I would bring it up to a 9. Because that second viewing, my expectations were more so in check. I had time to marinate on it more, process a lot more things, realize what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And at the end of the day, the things that really didn't work for me docked at still that 1 point, but then I realized there were more things that worked for me than I had initially realized. So that's why I bump it up that half a point or point to a 9, a solid 9. So in my opinion, I think Superman is better, but again, I love both movies. Yeah. Who wouldn't? But that's why we want to hear from you guys. So guys, what did you think of Fantastic Four? Let us know your spoiler-filled thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is headed from this point forward. What do you think's going to go on with Secret Wars, Spider-Man Brand New Day, the post-credit scenes in Fantastic Four? What does it mean? We want to know your takes on our tapes in those comments down below. And with that, Annmarie, I think that about does it.
Let's wrap it.
All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us on this episode of Cassette Take. We hope you haven't ejected thus far into the podcast, but whether you have or haven't, please don't forget to rewind. I've been Ethan.
I'm Annmarie.
And Annmarie. Fantastic Four!